been so down and out that you couldn't possibly believe? Let me clean off my camera here a little bit. Have you ever been so down and out that you couldn't possibly think that another thing could go wrong? I'm going to tell you all about a period in my life where that was the case. In fact, there has been a lot of periods in my life where that has been the case. But this one, I think you'll like this story. So please say hello in the comments. Let us know you're here and drop a thumbs up if you want. As I've been saying, if you want that free Relating Revolution class, please check out the description. The details are in there. I don't want to bore you guys with that. Um, and sorry, I am getting a call that I need to decline. So I don't know how to make that not happen. So there we go. An organic moment. Someone calling me right in the middle of the live. So let me catch my composure. uh, they're calling again. I don't know how to turn that off. So here we go. Wow, this is one of the cool things about going live, right? You get to see me live and frozen, and I don't remember even what I was saying. Oh, yeah. So, also in the description tonight is in the YouTube channel is the YouTube link. There's tons of free videos on there that people find super helpful, including all of these Expose Your Truth challenges are going to be categorized there in one easy playlist. So check it out, subscribe. Here we go without further ado. So it was only, there's a lot of, maybe if you're following my Facebook stuff, there's a lot of cool things happening in my life right now. But it was only 5 or 10 years, it was only 5 or 10 years ago that, it was only 5 or 10 years ago that it was like not that way at all. It was really a pretty difficult time in my life. And so I had just gotten, I wanted to paint this picture for you because it's kind of hard to believe, right? So let's go on a little story journey. So I was coming back. I was living in Thailand. I was overseas for a number of years, and I was involved in a project over there that was cool. But it was time to come home. I had two little kids. I was ready to start having them closer to their grandparents and start, moving forward with my career in different ways and things like that. And so I was finishing up my second master's degree in psychology, and we were living in a one room, sharing a one room apartment. We were sharing a 3 bedroom apartment with two other adult roommates, and myself, my wife, and my two sons, Rudy and Finn, were in one bedroom because that's all we could afford at the time. And thank you to a friend of ours that actually gave us a really reduced rate even to get in there because we came back from Thailand without a pot to piss in. And and I'm in grad school, and so while I'm in graduate school, um, I still have a responsibility to provide for my family, and so the kids were really young, and my wife was taking care of them, and no chance we could afford daycare. So while I was in graduate school, I was working at night, so I would work all night as a stagehand, and also thank you to a friend of mine, Joe, if you're watching, thank you so much for getting me that job as a stagehand, and I would work all through the night, and then I would go to grad school during the day. And you couldn't make this stuff up. One night I'm walking across the stage. I'm walking across the floor. We're taking down a concert, and we're going to put in the floor for the Golden State Warriors game. I'm at the Oakland Coliseum, and I'm going at like a 3/4 jog clip. I'm focused where the concert just ended, and it's kind of like go time now. And then all of a sudden, boom, I am flying backwards, and I'm on my back, and I have no idea what happened. And what it turns out is that someone had loosened like a big plug from a speaker or a stage or something, and it was hanging from the rafters of the Oakland Coliseum. So it was up really high. And so as it's hanging from the rafters, and it was swung across the room. And as I was running, and I never ever saw it, it hit me right in the forehead, and it took me completely off my feet. So not only did it hit me very hard with this metal object that was swinging from a very high place, so quite a high velocity. Not only that, but I was also running. Not only that, but it also caused like a whiplash, and it surprised the hell out of me. And so needless to say, I had a concussion, right? And I have a history of concussions because, as I've probably mentioned in some other videos, I played ice hockey, and that's actually the reason, one of the reasons why I had to stop playing ice hockey. Besides the fact that I got thrown off the team, but that's another story. So, but I had a lot of head injuries when I was playing hockey. So getting this head injury, boom, they can compound on each other, and so it was a pretty big deal. But I'm going to add to the complication and say that because we had been living overseas, and I had never in my adult life really paid into the system, there was no money for workman's comp. There was no money for any of those things. So I was in one of those positions where a lot of people find themselves, a lot of people that are kind of really struggling to kind of get ahead or find themselves in a position where they're damned. They're damned if they do, damned if they don't. And I'm in grad school, and I still need to, pay. I still need to pay rent. I still need to put food on the table, and there's no workman's comp. There's no unemployment insurance. Like I wasn't able to get any help. It was like $200 a month was all I kind of qualified for. Obviously, that wasn't going to do it. So what did I do? I went back to work. I was sick. I was nauseous. I had headaches. I was throwing up. Definitely had post concussion symptoms. But I was like, what? I got to support my family. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to work. And then, so when I went back to, so I went back to work, and you can't even make this up. 3 weeks later, I'm working as a stagehand. And again, I'm now loading something onto a truck, and the latch slips, and a lighting truss, a heavy lighting, a thick metal, one of those thick metal things that holds up the huge lights at concerts, one of those, crossbar metal lighting trusses, falls out of the truck and hits me on the head. So now another concussion within 3 weeks. This time I am severely messed up, right? I am throwing up. I'm every time I look at a computer screen, I get sick, and I'm trying to go to graduate school still. So, and now I start having some of the mental emotional symptoms of head injuries, right? Depression. I'm obviously completely nervous about what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to support my family? So anxiety, I start having panic attacks. And now we're still in this one little room. And another thing happens, and this is like crazy. We didn't even have pets, but from a previous pet that used to live in that place, there was fleas, and we had a huge flea outbreak. And the fleas were biting my son Finn, who was like 9 months old. Every night they were biting the crap out of him. And we would do everything to try to get rid of these fleas. They wouldn't bite anywhere else, but he would wake up with like flea bites all over him. And I was going freaking mad. I have the post concussion thing. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. I'm trying to do graduate school. I have no idea. And I'm like, I was going crazy. I've never felt so helpless. I was so angry. I literally wanted, but in these little tiny fleas, there was nothing I could do. You can barely even see them. But I wanted to smite every single flea in the universe. I was so angry, and I was so frustrated, and I was so depressed, and I was so anxious, and I couldn't imagine how things were going to change. I couldn't imagine how things were going to get better. And yet, here I am. This was only maybe like 7 years ago, a whole life ago. And I had this thought today, skiing on the mountain. I was skiing with my kids, and we get to the top of the chairlift, and now my kids are good enough skiers that we can go to the hike only terrain. So we climbed up onto the top of the mountain. We're at about 12,000 feet of elevation, and I just had this moment of like, oh my gosh. And I just thought about how like joy and gratitude and flow and just privilege and opportunity, and I was so freaking grateful. And at the same time, what I realized in that moment is that I've been focusing on joy and gratitude and love and service for so long before I had the experiences that I'm having now in my life. And that was what really hit me, that I wanted to share with you. Is it's like I activated those things before, when things sucked. I kept going and I kept persevering and I kept going and I kept persevering, not just with just muscling it through and sucking it up and being tough. And there's some of that in there, but also just keep opening my heart and keep working on spirituality and keep learning and keep growing and keep challenging myself. And trust me, there's been challenges since then, but just a continual just like opening and just like insisting on love, insisting on happiness, insisting on joy before it was there, before I had a reason, before I had reasons, as many reasons as I do now to feel as grateful as I feel on the top of the mountain skiing with my sons. What an incredible privilege. What an incredible opportunity. So this is not to say, na 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 na, look at me, look at how great my life is. This is to say, what if you're there, keep going. If you're in one of those deep, dark places, keep going. It is the thoughts, it is the emotions, it is the energy, it is the actions that you do now that will lead you to a place where you're on top of the mountain again. And then once you have been through that journey and you will know how to stay. And it doesn't mean that life is not going to continually throw challenges at me. But I know that I will never be back in that place that is so dark and so scary and so angry and so frustrating. I know that my life is moving forward. I know that there will be challenges and obstacles, but I am confident, I trust in the love and the gratitude and the joy that it will continue to expand and that it will continue to grow. And I know that even when I fall down, I know that I know what I've been through, so I know what I can handle. And I know that I never get more than I can handle. It just sometimes appears to be, and that's one of the rules of the game from a teacher of mine's teacher. His name is Rudy, and we named our son after him because he's such an important influence on our life. And he said, you never get more than you can handle, but it oftentimes will, if you are growing, it will appear to be more than you can handle. And it will seem like it's more than you can handle. And you will have to become a new person so that you can handle it. And that's why it's there in your life. And so I've had to become a new person. My whole life I've had a tendency towards depression and anxiety. And now I have a tendency towards joy and gratitude. I've had to become a new person. So hopefully that is inspiring for you. If you're in the trenches, keep going. You got this. If you ever want to talk, send me a message, write a comment, give me a call. Check out the YouTube videos, subscribe there. There might be lots of things in there that can help you because I share a lot of my personal journey and the ways in which I've been able to transform certain difficulties. And I hope it helps you. I'm here. That's why I'm here. I love you all. Have a beautiful day. It's not a touch screen.